Hello, and wish you all a very happy new year. Welcome to the first webinar of 2025. It is said that the mind is like a parachute and works best when it is open. Hence, we invite you to attend the fifth session of our 3D Thursday webinar series with an open mind to absorb all the gems of jewels being offered by Mr. Vishwanath Nayak, whom I will introduce in detail in just a bit. I am Akshata and I will be your host today. Happy to have you with us to explore additive manufacturing applications in medical devices and to learn about overcoming challenges in this path. As the title calls out, today we'll delve into the innovative applications of additive manufacturing in creating customized medical devices and systems. We'll also address key challenges, including biocompatibility, auto, autoclave compatibility, and material testing. In particular, let's learn how GE Healthcare is successfully tackling these obstacles. We encourage an interactive session, so please feel free to ask questions. A dedicated Q&A segment will take place at the end of the presentation, but you can submit your questions at any time through the chat feature. To ensure everyone has a chance to participate, we may group similar questions together. We'll address as many questions as time permits. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. By participating, you consent to the recording being shared for educational purposes. I'm excited to introduce our speaker for today's session, Mr. Vishwanath Nayak, Principal Engineer, GE Healthcare. Vishwanath Nayak is an engineering leader with over 17 years of experience in research and development at GE Healthcare, a prolific innovator with 14, let me repeat, with 14 US patents, a white paper, and several publications to his name. He is presently the principal engineer for CT hardware platforms at GE Healthcare. Vishwanath leads the value segment computed tomography, CT for short, platform, shaping its architecture and defining the product roadmap to ensure robustness, affordability, and clinically superior imaging performance. A pioneer in his field, Vishwanath was instrumental in implementing the first ever metal 3D printed assembly in medical device production, a groundbreaking achievement that has set a global precedent. He also leads additive technology initiatives across businesses at GE Healthcare, collaborating with key strategic partners to drive innovation and excellence. Vishwanath holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in mechanical design and analysis from MIT, Manipal. We would not be able to see the live video of Mr. Vishwanath today due to a technical glitch, but we will see his picture in his presentation. So let's uncover the future of healthcare innovation together by welcoming Mr. Vishwanath Nayak as he takes us through today's presentation. Over to you, Vishwanath.
Thank you, Akshata. Thanks a lot for the great welcome note, and really a pleasure to talk with Wipro 3D. We are so trying to partner, and today, I would like to talk some of the applications in medical devices and how we overcame some of the challenges. So the agenda I just cover broadly today is I just step back and explain what we do, and then we go some of the challenges in some of the product designs, especially in the anesthesia respiratory care. What are the regulatory standards that we have, and testing and advancements that we do, and the QA probably at the end. If you see, overall GE Healthcare, we have now we are an independent company, about 19.6 billion revenue. spread across 160 countries, and is quite great amount of investment that we do in research and development. And GE being one of the pioneer in all of the major right from the aircraft engines to GE Power, healthcare, and many other independent companies that are spin off or so we have brought in, I mean, the legacy that goes more than 100 years of innovation. And if you see here, we have 4 million installed bases of the medical devices. And uh, definitely this is one of the great thing. Every 2 billion exams per year. So that is amount of data that we do and what we bring to the value to the our customers and patient. And going into digital side, definitely one of the leading. So we are leading in digital AI analytics and how this healthcare, the precision health can change or devise how we can transform the outcomes better. So that is what we are working on. And if you see, in terms of the solutions that we have, in terms of diagnosis, whether it is treatment or monitoring. So these are the three major things that we focus on. And then if you see how we are, the different verticals that we have one we call as imaging, where you have all the diagnostic equipments like MRI, CT, molecular imaging, gamma cameras, what we say, X-ray, women's health, IGT, and then ultrasound. Definitely we have, and cardiovascular and radiology, and LCS. We have anesthesia, respiratory care, monitoring solutions, DCAR, and MIC, and there are definitely PC PAC solutions, and different advanced visualizations, and how we change the digital outcome of the things. And then we have PDX also. So 9 commercial regions across one, and we have one supply chain integrated across the world, and we have Edison platform that scales across all the product lines. This is some of the glimpse of what we have in the medical device, like MRI. You may have seen in most of the hospitals and things like that. The MRI or the CT or PET CT, X-ray, mammo, ultrasound. These are what we do. Anesthesia, respiratory care. So I'm going to talk a little bit on GE healthcare in India, what we do. So if you see in India, we have a history more than 30 years. We have about 1,800 employees, which includes all the research and development, manufacturing teams sitting across different kind of setup here in Bangalore, and most of them are in Bangalore. We have about 140 products delivered over a period of time, and we have more than 1,000 patents coming out of this center. This is a representation of mini GE healthcare. So this particular HCT India is in Whitefield in Bangalore. And this is the all the innovation happens here. So this is basically an R&D center here. So coming to from the additive standpoint, GE Healthcare, we have additive manufacturing center of excellence and global additive network that we have, where typically most of the machines that we have is spread across the world, especially in US and European regions. So these are different, what do you say, the machines that we have, and type of thing that we do, and what are the, type of materials, type of machines, ranging from PBF, I mean, DMLM, and, different other applications that, which we use, polyjet, FDM, DLP. So, and then there are different locations how we do, and across the world, and these are the centers where it is typically engineering kind of setup, and also some at some locations we have a production setup also across the world, catering to different needs. So coming to the topic on the challenges, typically what we face in medical devices from the additive standpoint. So additive is, not new to us. We have been into this additive domain at least from GE healthcare standpoint. It is at least 10 years of research and development has gone through, and at least from the Bangalore side, we are basically catering into the value segment of the product line. So we have premium, which is typically premium segment products we have in most of the is in US CAN region or European regions, and then we have performance typically which happens in Beijing or Japan, and then we have performance. I mean the value segment that comes up in China and India. So catering to the different market. That is how the typically for most of the product lines. And if you see the challenges for all the devices remain same because the quality, the audits, the regulatory terms remain same. The biggest challenge to us is that we are in a value segment and scaling or doing anything in additive is against the tide because of the fact that we are already in a value and cost is a most critical factor in a medical device, right? So that is one of the biggest challenge that we have. So if you see regulatory and safety standards that typically govern most of the product line, not only just ARC, but for, we have IEC, we have ISO standards, then we have this, FDA. Typically, you may have know that we have, US Food and Drug Administration. So these are the typical, regulatory bodies. IEC, you may see most. It's basically on the how we do, basically on the devices. What are the regulatory standards in terms of the safety, in terms of electrical, mechanical safeties, product safety. And ISO standard is typically, as you know, already a generic. So some of these, a lot of certifications and things like that apply for us in terms of ISO, and then definitely the FDA for US, CAN, European regions. Yeah, it basically is critical for us. And apart from that, there is a which we call is MDSAP, Medical Device Single Audit Program. So this is basically one more major where definitely all of these any posts across have to comply with the MDSAP. So, and if you see ISO standards typically, and especially, I mean, if let's take, for example, any device for that matter, where there is a patient gas path involved. So there are different ISO standards that, biocompatibility evaluation of breathing gas. So this is the ISO standard. And then we have for, because the gas, the respiratory, the ventilators or any typical or take, for example, anesthesia care or ventilator by itself, right? Right. You have definitely challenge of how the patient gas passes through this particular, the part today, And then when we say part, it is basically whether it is conventional or additive or any such thing. Typically, it is for any material. It has to comply according to the lot of standards. Standards are very, very stringent because it directly involves in the patient, outcome of the patient, treatment. So that is very critical. And then we have, if you see here, some of the parts are like, particulate matter or volatile organic compounds, right? So this is very critical for us in terms of how we comply to those. There are different regulatory requirements by itself, testing things. So it is very stringent. So when it comes to the choice, what we typically have becomes very narrow down to an extent. So and definitely there is a lot of onto the risk management, essential to performance of the ventilator. Then you have some safety standards also coming into the place. And so these are the basically and then biological evaluation of the medical device by itself. So these are different standards that govern us. And coming to the infection side, right? Like, World Health Organization estimate that hundreds of million patients around the world are impacted because reused medical device is one of the biggest contributor to this problem. Reused in the sense when you a particular device, say for ventilator, right? It is used for, I mean, typically you may have already seen during the COVID, right? The most vulnerable is the reuse devices because it is used on one patient. Then definitely the protocol has to be followed. for that device to ensure that you do autoclaving properly, where you basically dip the particular autoclave components into the solution, and then you cleanse with those the agents, cleanse those the viruses or microorganisms, and then it is used for the next patient. Now the material that needs to be complying to this particular agent as well, right? It has to behave over a period of time. It is not that we do one or two, it is hundreds or thousand times we keep doing this particular, using this medical devices across, and especially during critical pandemic stages, this is very important. So, and definitely, if the device is not properly processed, in the sense it is not used properly, or in the sense, or basically if the material or compatibility is not good, then definitely it will have it gets infected into the patient. So that is very important aspect to be taken into consideration. And biocompatibility, right? So this is another important thing. So, for example, in case of, biocompatibility, there are different biocompatibility requirements. Typically, if you see, there are biocompatibility, for the components which are autoclave or non-autoclave as well. So some of the, just because it doesn't go into the patient gas path, it still needs to be complying to some other classes of biocompatibility. So that is very important to. So there are some of the parts are biocompatible to some level or degree of the needs, and some are not. So there are distinguishing between the stringent requirements of the material by itself, and then definitely biological risk. So how it causes the probability of harm to the of the metal interactions, and severity of that harm to the patient by itself, right? Because these are the some of the concerns that we typically most of the medical devices will have, because it has to be compliant, that the devices doesn't cause harm to the patient, because it shouldn't induce issues to the patient, like the material properties or issues cannot for example, cancer or any such kind of, dreaded diseases, right? So this particular devices has to ensure that the safety, not only from the biocompatibility or material, application, but still it has to be, doesn't induce secondary issues, whether it is directly contact or indirect contact. So that is there, and then biological safety is another aspect that that we cannot have any kind of issues, basically because of the microorganisms getting having kind of changing its behavior by leveraging or taking the material degradation or things like that. So it cannot change, so there are some differently microorganisms, and these are very important: carcinogenic, mutagenic, and these are the very definitely, and the DDS has to be over 0.1 without justification. So endocrine disrupting substances. So these are all the basically the very critical for us to yeah. So this is one of the challenges. And when you say FDA is the, as I explained, it is FDA is basically used, is the most stringent regulatory body, and it operates, and it's a US based agency, and typically it applies to the most of the regions. Other countries also definitely ask for FDA regulate whether your devices are FDA qualified or not. So FDA, I mean, some of the examples, which is not related to our products, but what we hear from, the volatile organic compounds, right? It is exceeding the acceptable limits. So this causes problem to the, where it will lead to the carcinogenic or, kind of biological issues in the future. Polymer degradation over a period of time. The polymer was supposed to be behaving with the test results and the efficacy testings that we do, but over a period of time, it has degraded. and how the behavior of those the polymer will happen over a period of time. Those are very critical. It's not only just the material, the labs where the devices are getting tested, those will also undergo FDA. How we test, how we do the testings, that will also undergo FDA. Right, every aspect goes through the FDA here. How the quality processes are, that is also very critical here. So the stringent, how it is manufactured, how it is serviced, everything goes under FDA. So from testing and advancement standpoints, literally, I just wanted to kind of cover a little bit on some of the challenges that typically, we have. I mean, the regulatory things for us, it's much different than other industries because, sustainability of additive technology, right? This is one of the, challenging during the, without having any disruption into the production. That is very important, right? Because we cannot have some kind of a scenario where we cannot make the part, because typically in COVID, right, most of the you may recall the devices who were making and were in part of the healthcare fraternity had definitely a kind of a leverage to produce those parts. Then the supply chain has to be ensuring that whether it is a conventional part or an additive part. Typically, this is one of the important things. So if it is additive, the machine has to be up all the time. Then the servicing or the maintenance of those, the powder has to be there, the post processing things, everything have to be the entire cycle. Supply chain or the entire ecosystem has to be operating. That is very important for in additive technology. And then the second thing here is on the capturing the process variation, right? What happens if the process varies? What happens if the machine variations happen? What happens if the parameter kind of changing? Parameter we typically keep freezed during our designs, but what can it impact? Some secondary kind of an issues where tweaking and things like that. What happens to in that conditions, right? And powder source. So what kind of a powder source are we targeting? The powder source has to be qualified. There are some internal requirement that we have created. So those are the things are very critical. And then definitely we perform detailed analysis of the powder variations, right? And the effect on the performance, and then powder reuse. Typically, this powder reuse is a common term in additive technology, but here what is right? What is an optimum scenario? Because we need to be the cost as low as possible and meeting the the target in terms of how we achieve and propose the additive technology over with the conventional process over a conventional process. But however, then what kind of a reuse strategy that we are talking about. So I'm going to talk a little bit on reuse strategy today, and then probably some of the other things on SEM study and other things which we have carried for one of the part that we had. So qualification process to us is very, very stringent. It not only control, print. It's not only just talking about the printing controls, the post processing controls, right? Like printing controls in the sense parameter, how the parameters are controlled, how it is monitored, who is entering the parameter where, how do we keep it, how do we keep track of those things. Then definitely on the post processing operation like wire EDM, and then stress relieving operation, how it is maintained, how it is monitored, how do we get the every time right, that those are the things. And post processing controls also, every post processing control is also monitored. Then material testing strategy, we test tensile test coupon, dog bone coupons, how do we match it with the finite element analysis. And then we also perform the SEM fractography analysis and see how it behaves, what are the material properties of this particular part. How do we see when it behaves over a period of time with multiple reuse cycles, multiple production kind of an environment, how does it behave? Right. During the design itself, we have to figure it out. What are the outcomes? it is not just that we, what do you say, during the design stage, it is done and over. No, we have to anticipate what are the controls, what can go wrong, and then evaluate as well. And coming to the reliability testing, definitely we do a IEC factor of safety load testing. We do fatigue testing because typically if you see in IEC requirement for medical devices, there are some regulatory requirements where we say that the factor of safety has to be so and so. Now, when we do that, there are two options. Either you demonstrate the test or you typically prove it with the kind of a good amount of finite element analysis and also do some calculations and show it. So typically we do both. We evaluate the results and compare it with the finite element analysis. But in this case, we had to do a fatigue testing, stress testing over and above what we do in conventional. So conventional, we typically don't do it's a fatigue or a live kind of a scenario with the conventional sheet metal or a machine component, but here we had to do it. So because this is the first time that we were introducing this technology and devices and seeing its vulnerability, we had to do different levels of vibration, shock testing, then inspect at each stage how the X-ray inspection we do it. And we also do a CT scan of this part and see if there are any anomalies, which can introduce cracks or such things over a period of time. And then definitely each component it goes for production, every component is tested for its hardness test, ball indentation testing. So yeah, so each of the cases, different scenarios were established, and we figure it out how we can control, we can consider the outbounds in the all the different parameters here, and then we see how our DOEs look and how where we would be with different variations. So, and then definitely there are some lot of challenging tests and worst case scenarios were also conducted over and above this. So this is one of the example where powder use strategy I was talking about. If you see typically, so there are different versions and people use different kind of terminologies and also different methodologies, but we use a scenario where the we mix 50% of virgin powder with 50% of reuse powder. We combine that for every reuse, and the scenario we create reuse 100% reuse was also studied how it does, and DOE runs were carried, and how this tensile test coupons will be behaving. So for different reuse cycles, we test it, we mark it, and we perform the testing, analysis, and testing. And this is one of the example. And then we studied with two different machines, two different kind of a scenario. The conditions were the almost similar, machine one and machine two. Blue being one of the machine one, and the orange being machine two. Here, so two different machines. We checked the for different reuse cycle how the tensile test coupon, the UTS and the yield. It has to be a typo here. This yield here. So this yield and UTS were compared, and if you see over a period of time, it is the UTS increases slightly a bit from what it was initially, but more or less similar. But in machine one and in the machine two, it is also similar kind of a scenario. But so because every machine is having different characteristics, how it prints, what kind of the parameters also not same. It will be little bit of a variation. Even the machines are same powder bed fusion machines, and having similar kind of parameter thing. We try to keep the parameter constant, almost constant. There are some minor variation do happen between one machine to another machine, but typically more or less the major broad level, macro level parameters, and also kind of mid level, we keep it same. So we see that variations is not significant within the reuse cycle, and it was well within the specifications of the specified tolerance of the powder source. We also perform fractography, and through SEM analysis, we figure out how the material bonding happen for virgin powder with reuse 1, reuse 2, and many different cycles of the reuse. So we magnify the particular areas where, and see how this particular what we have seen is over a period of time the bonding becomes little bit of a better, we would say. And at some point in time we saw that properties were also good, and this is because the fact that it has been multiple times printed. So the sieved powder is again, we sieve it again and use it for the next batch of cycle. So typically the properties change. The grains become little bit of kind of a granular, and it becomes more fused. In the fusion happens little bit better what we saw, what we have seen. But we did up to 13 reuse cycles. We stopped at that, but we kept our the line at 11 reuse cycles. This is the typical standard that we used to keep it in this case here. So that's and this we also do the EDS analysis also, and the chemical composition, how it varies over a period of time for different reuse cycles. So we tried first reuse, virgin, and 5 and 11. So 4 different things, and we couldn't see much of a difference within the and it was well within the range. We also do the ONH and PSD analysis for the you can see the oxygen content slightly increased, but nitrogen and nitrogen was almost similar, but hydrogen, kind of increased, but it is well within the specification range. But that we saw the different conditions, and we plotted that against the the virgin powder here. So what are the enablers for additive manufacturing design optimization, right? So can the print parameters help in optimized design? So this is one of the challenge, right? Like, it's like a cracking a puzzle. You typically have machine, you have powder source, and then you have parameter setting, then you have mechanical properties, SEM studies, and control architecture, right? So is print parameters help in optimization design? The answer is typically yes. If you see, whether it is, you know, or different machines by itself, or change or tweaking in how the machine behaves. But this is one of the most important thing. The parameter optimization has to be definitely explored by the user based on his need and how he is comfortable with respect to the metal property behavior, and how he would foresee his part would behave over a period of time. So that is very important here to know what are the limits for the parameter. How long, how far can I go into the parameter optimization, and what is safe limit? That is very important to know. So these are the things that is very critical here. So parameter setting is very one of the most critical aspect, because it determines how the melt pool will be and how the behavior of this particular metal when it fuses and things like that. It is more and more details as we go. But another important thing that I just wanted to say is that if you see one of the case where we had typically almost 7 hours of printing time, and it was definitely meeting the strength. But then we optimized the parameter a lot. We studied its behavior over a period of time, and definitely we came up with a better powder use cycle study. And looking at all of this, we could optimize the parameter, less than 4 hours. Definitely this is one of the great kind of an achievement where we typically see, almost 50%, 30 to 30. We saw about 35%. We could see about 45 to 50% kind of a scenario where the time would can also reduce. So this is possible in additive, and this defines your cost directly proportional to the cost. And it brought in 20% efficiency and definitely time reduction of 35%. So this is significant factor to be considered for when you're designing additive and getting the best cost out of it to keep improvising over a period of time. So how do you overcome some of the challenges in the design phases, right? Typically, if you see, the surface finishes are not as great in powder bed fusion, but you can lower the specifications in terms of the parameter and also the time taken to print it. But then everything lies within the end goal, that what surface finish you would like. What would be the how many irregularities do you kind of accept, or is there any opportunity to have a irregularity or not? So those are the things, and this is one of the case study that we had for one of the enclosures. First is you in the experimental mode, typically where you design, you print, inspect, and analyze. But in case of a DFAM, where we simulate that, we try to do it in we use simulation tools like SimuFact, and also ANSYS definitely for additive in terms of finite element analysis. And we see how much the simulation can help us to in this factor. Yeah. So we saw about the time that is reduced, because we could analyze and we could figure out unwanted the aspect which we don't really like to see. So those are the critical which helped us to take a decision that in terms of the time. So this is some of the simulations that we did on one of the part. It was a vertical printing, and we try to see what is the factor of safety, what are the limits, and how much we can bring down the. So different iterations were performed, and we could achieve up to 50% development time. So it is more than over and top of the previous slide what I explained, is top of that. So coming back to the anesthesia respiratory care. So anesthesia, what does it do? It basically prevent the patient from feeling the pain during the medical procedures. Now, which makes the patient unconscious, and definitely you have to have intravenous line to, and the gases, patient gas has to be managed. So anesthesia agents, desflurane, isoflurane, and sevoflurane. So these are the agents that we have. And so these are the type of anesthesia, whether it is general anesthesia, monitored, local anesthesia, or regional anesthesia. So these are the type of, based on that, you will get to know what is the requirement of the anesthesia. And this is one of the important thing for the ARC material compatibility, as I already explained, biocompatible VOCs and should not degrade and break into microparticles. Very, very, very critical. Cleaning and disinfection. This is one of the another biggest factor, and this does apply to almost all the medical devices. C&D is one of the biggest thing that has changed post COVID. The way in which we used to foresee how it is applied, but today there are lot of regulations coming in C&D. The people are, if you touch this particular component, what is the biocompatibility, how it matters into the cleaning and disinfection, whether the patient has touched the medical device. For example, if you have a CT scanner, you lie on a patient bed, and then you come out of it. So your imprints and things are, capture. It goes into the part. So you need to have a definitely kind of agent, right agent to cleanse the previous to now. So those are the critical things. And definitely, one of the other thing is non-gas patient, non-patient gas part materials also. So this is one of the important thing. So we do DMA testings, where typically, it's a test where you analyze how your material will behave. For example, this is one of the polymer that we try to print in 3D. I mean, one of the application where we printed. It is for this is for the current polymer, or the material which is injection molded. And then we saw that after the soaking, right, the temperature sweep after the soaking remains constant. It doesn't change. But when we tested one of the claimed polymer, that it is meeting the ISO, one of the ISO 10993-5. This is for the cytotoxicity. So this is what we saw, that particular polymer, it has degraded, which means that the Young's modulus, the strength will degrade when you soak it. So this is not acceptable. It so the regulation says it has to be 20 minutes. It has to be soaked. It has to be soaked into that, and when you remove it out, it should be having the same behavior. So, but then the behavior here for us is the we cannot have a degradation of mechanical properties. That is important for us. The particle the polymer may not have corroded or any such things, but it is not behaving the same property. That is not acceptable to us. This is another polymer with one of the other machines in polymer that claimed to be ISO 10993. It could not pass the testings, and one more here. So this particular sudden drop into the within few minutes, it will the tensile test property will drops drastically. Whereas here, if you see in the left hand side, I can show here. So the Young's modulus remains constant, at least about 200 or more cycles. So here this within few cycles it will drop. So this is failed. So another, I would just wanted to give example of one of the anesthesia respiratory called what we call as a vent engine manifold. So this particular vent engine is basically heart of the entire. So this is how the ventilatory anesthesia machine, 9100 NXT looks like. So this is how the anesthesia here. The patient exhaled gas is basically goes into the bellow, and this is the heart where it basically controls all of the functioning of this particular machine. So this particular thing manifold is made up of a conventional aluminum, kind of a plate where you drill this particular holes in the particular part here from all different direction like X, Y, Z everywhere. And it could optimize to an extent, but beyond a point it cannot help because it has its own issue in terms of leakages in terms because there are different joints there because it is made in conventional way. So we completely transformed the design in additive with the 1.3 kg part to just 2.2 kg, and we assembled and we did the functional test and everything was passed. And we are this is how it nested. This is how it gets nested in the build plate, and this is the part that we are. So we are working on the regulatory. The regulatory aspect takes huge lot of time for us to qualify. Uh, yeah, the learnings what we have got from other projects is directly applied here, but the time is too high. So another aspect is there are 6 suppliers who are doing it. Now it is just one supplier supplying this particular part. And then you have, there are 6 different leak opportunity. I mean, in the sense, 6 possible failures points were there in conventional. Now it is one part. I mean, there are one, it's a one part, so you don't have any leak, thing. So this is different parts that it makes, like, some of the brass fitted things, O-ring, many parts that makes the assembly. So we did the flow path, but with this particular polymer design, it was not enough. So this will not yield us with the required. So we did it. This is POC is done in polymer first. Then we did it in metal the same way. Our path was clear that we are going to go in metal because of the fact that we already qualified many other parts in metal. So this is one of the example that this was done. And then we have asked it for the biocompatibility result and how it behaves. So that work is going, but this is the how the parts are compared to the conventional design. So this not only brings the volume of the shrinks the volume of the devices, but it becomes handy also and easy to service, easy to manage in the field. So this is some of the examples how many parts got eliminated. And then there is something called as a reservoir, a big part, which is basically on top of the device. Now, this particular part completely changed into the additive world. And so this definitely improves the turbulent to a laminar flow path, improved reliability, and definitely it has very less support structures and easy cleaning.
A special thanks to you, Mr. Vishwanath, for sharing all these valuable insights into 3D printing capabilities. I also want to end the session by thanking all the people who have joined us today. Thank you for being an engaging crowd. I still see a lot of questions coming in and a lot of thought-provoking questions. We'll try and answer them maybe through an email or we get in touch with you. We'll do our best to answer all of them. Our next set of training modules are announced for February 2025. You can choose to enroll in them and get answers to some of your questions over here. We are offering them on the 4 Saturdays. There are 4 different modules which will be offered both in online and in-person module. You can visit our website for more information and registrations. We hope you are looking forward to our next webinar, which will take place on Feb 20th, 2025, the third Thursday of February at 3 p.m. And there we will get deeper into another fascinating topic that continues to shape the future of technology and manufacturing. Until then, stay warm, stay safe. Thank you.